he shouldn't have been let off. It was just another conversation.
Golf won last week.
I might get knocked out here. So he then steps behind his own caddy.
That I was pro letting out all the murderers because not all murderers have been caught.
This is strictly controversial now. What's the worst thing you've seen in sport?
He is intentionally cheating.
Yeah, you don't.
It's Bubs' teeth, isn't it? When his lips go, the lights go.
I have got the answer to spike marks on the greens.
Good afternoon for another episode of the Dope Stroke podcast show. We are the #1 podcast show in the Ivory Coast. So welcome to the greatest golf show in that nation. We are ranking quite well across the board, actually, but it is just myself and Bubs right now because Trottie has scarpered off for a coffee. So, who knows where this podcast is going to take us today. As usual, it'll take us off into all sorts of directions, although we do have some topics we'd like to cover. It's just whether we can be bothered to get there or not. So before we get to that, Bubs, how you doing? Any exciting escapades coming up for you, et cetera, et cetera?
Good, mate. If anyone watching on YouTube will see we have sort of got Trottie because they can see his beautifully manicured garden, but he's not sat in front of the camera at the moment because he's grabbing a coffee. But look, I'm excited to get this podcast finished. And I'm going to get planning because I think our 100th episode, which is coming up, we should do it live from the Ivory Coast. We should go on tour, set up in the Ivory Coast, do it. Like we're going to get hundreds of thousands of people if we're the biggest podcast in the Ivory Coast.
Exactly. I mean, we are setting the world alight in the Ivory Coast. In fact, a little good Google search would be to figure out how many golf courses there actually are in the Ivory Coast. So, we'll come back to that shortly. Other than that, we've got a few things to cover this week. I think we should probably tackle the most interesting one first, right? Which is a lot of the feedback based on the DeChambeau's post we put out on Instagram.
Oh, I mean, Trottie doesn't know about this, does he? I mean, it's the weekend. I've got my boys. I want to have some family time. I am defending. I'm holding off pelters coming left, right, and centre, like haymakers, uppercuts, jabs. I was like AJ in the first round of that match of the weekend, and he got dropped twice in the first round. I mean, it was coming all different directions. I mean, look, there's people on Instagram who've got Instagram accounts, and it's clearly their first time having a conversation with an adult because they don't really know how it works and they're not sure how it goes. But just for a bit of context, it was clipped up, and I guess the idea is you clip it up and you post it out and you get a bit of interaction, which is fine. So for context, we had all said in the podcast last week, Bryson was cheating. He was out of line. They caught him. They gave him a penalty. We all said that was correct, right? Let's box that. Get it off the side. I didn't say he wasn't cheating. I didn't say he should get away with it. That's fine. My point was that if that penalty was assigned to him because they'd used video footage from, let's say, 4 to 5 different cameras that was zoomed in on what he was doing, and they'd studied that to assess whether he's breaking the rules, is it a level playing field if that level of scrutiny isn't applied to all golfers in the field? Like, let's get rid of the fact that Bryson was cheating. That's done. That's boxed off. We've agreed he is. It was another conversation about whether it's a level playing field. Now, one person decided, and this is, we'll call this a slight leap, like a jump, a small leap. He had suggested that because of the point I was making, that I was pro letting out all the murderers because not all murderers have been caught. I mean, is that a leap or what? Let's hope I don't get into power, because the two things I'm going to want on the top of my bill is video coverage for all players and let out all the murderers. I mean, that is where we're going with this thing. But listen, I think people were sort of saying that, he shouldn't be let off because other people were doing it. And that people were just taking the point incorrectly. They would mix it up with me saying that Bryson shouldn't have been penalised. He should have been let off. He shouldn't have been let off. It was just another conversation. And I do think we want to revisit this because, number one, it's good for clicks and we like comments. But I do think there's a bigger conversation to be had here because I want to take it in a different direction. I think they have used video footage post the event to watch it and see whether they think he's broken the rules. I think that's what's happened. And they have then, after he's finished and put it out on 18, they've come to him and gone, hey, look, we think you've broken the rules. Let's take it back. We agree. You're penalised 2 shots. Okay. Now, I appreciate I'm changing a lot of the facts here. Let's say that's not Friday. Let's say that's Sunday. Let's say it's still the 5th hole. Let's say he stands on the 18th tee with a 2-shot lead, and he decides, because he's got a 2-shot lead, he's going to play for bogey. So it's 8 iron, wedges it on, 2 putts, takes his bogey. He wins by 1. He walks off the green, and they go, actually, Bryson, we're penalising you 2 shots. You've lost by 1. That cannot happen. So there has to be a wider conversation here that says, how are we assessing these players? And if it is done by video footage, that's fine if it's available, but it must be assigned to that player before they complete the hole, because there's no way they would have done that on Sunday. So I just think I don't think enough people have spoken about how the rules are applied and how we need a few more, I think, things in place to say, how is this going to happen? How is this going to play out if this was Sunday? If this was the 9th hole on Sunday, when does that player get told that they're looking at him and they're going to potentially investigate that rule? How are you, Trottie?
Just first time I've seen those some of those comments. I'm glad that you're fending them off.
I was gloves up by my face, head down. I was in recovery mode. I was like, just get through the round.
I got as far as one that says I'm addicted to your podcast for all the wrong reasons, and a bunch of clown emojis.
Yes, that's the guy from the Ivory Coast.
Well, for what it's worth, mate, and we're not going to dive deep into this subject, I'm getting direct messages about what I shouldn't be saying on podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Preempting what you're going to say.
And text messages from people. It's just like, hang on, it's a podcast, isn't it? Aren't you meant to say things that are slightly controversial because that's your opinion? But obviously we can't do that in this day and age.
Yeah, people aren't. It is interesting, but that's the whole point of a podcast, is to be able to express an opinion and actually talk about a viewpoint, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. And we like all commentary back because obviously it shapes our opinions for the future anyway. So if those golfers out there are looking to shape the opinion of professional golf and golf as a whole, keep commenting, keep sending those direct messages to Trottie, and hell, we give him hell on this podcast, so don't stop yourselves out there in the public. Makes sense.
I think at the end of the day, Bubs, before you dive in, if you're not saying stuff that's controversial, then is it really a podcast? And some guys dived in there and gone, podcast only for a few thousand people. Well, hang on a minute. How do you start these things then? You turn it on day one and you've got 300,000 followers, have you? Of course not. So then, the whole point of social media, which maybe people aren't getting, is you've got to cut things up and take things out of context. And again, the feedback I've had from multiple people, you've got to listen to the podcast.
Yeah,
I think last week's podcast for me, granted, I did a lot of speaking, but as always, but last week's podcast for me, if you remember, the one thing we did say, because we're all passionate about the game, golf won last week. Golf won last week big time, for the simple reason that the guy that won it wasn't all this hoo-ha for a change with YouTube. It wasn't all the BS. Golf won, the Open won, the major season closed, and I think everyone was quite happy with how the result turned out, to be honest.
So last thing I want to say on it before we move on, but I had insinuated in the podcast that if you had cameras on every player, there's like 160 odd players, every player for every shot for all 4 rounds, and those cameras were like super zoomed in, you might see an infringement of the rules. And a lot of people were saying, I don't believe that people playing in the Open would be cheating. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying people are cheating. What I'm saying is that if you had, someone might touch the sand with their wedge and not notice. Someone might address the ball in the rough and it might move by a dimple. That's infringements of the rule. It's not them cheating. And the point before we move on, this is the exact point I'm making. 2016, US Open, DJ addresses his ball on the green, the ball moves. He then goes and calls the ref over and says, I hadn't addressed the ball moved, what's the ruling? The ref said, had you addressed it? Did you cause it to move? DJ said no. The ref agreed and said no penalty, replace the ball. So the on-course ref agreed with DJ, no penalty. They then used that super zoomed in, if you remember, it was like almost like the putter head filled the screen to say he did cause it to move. They then given him a penalty. My point is, had that player been 54th on the leaderboard with no cameras, there's no penalty. Because the ref goes, did you cause it to move? The player says no. The ref says, I agree, no penalty. So because DJ was leading, because he had film camera on him, he gets penalised. Now, luckily, he went on to win. But the simple point I'm making, is it's like having having VAR in football and saying we're only going to put cameras on certain players to watch what they're doing. I just don't think it's a level playing field. Irrelevant to the fact whether Bryson was cheating, I think he was penalised. It's a wider conversation about should we be using methods to assess players, scrutinise in such a way that it is only unique for those players at the top of the leaderboard.
I'm not sure where we ended it last week, but it comes back to like VAR and stuff like that, doesn't it? I'm sure we must have talked about that. And Jeff Hurst's goal in the '66 World Cup, England scored. That's been under scrutiny with modern technology. Things are changing, you know what I mean? And I think that's where we're at. And these guys are playing for a lot of money. I mean, I heard you boys talking as I was fannying about trying to get started out and sorted here. But like the women have played for a lot of money this week. The Champions Tour or Legends Tour or whatever has played for a lot of money. It's just where it's going. And I think when that happens, also the viewer's changing. The viewer is like scrutinising it, you know, and they want their say, and just muppets who don't know much about the new golf viewer. They're not, you can't call them muppets. It's like saying that the podcast has got a small following. Well, it's still relatively new, so let's just chill out. But on the same note, it's like you got to just take all this stuff. It's just new. It's just a new way things are done. Do we like it? It doesn't matter. And then what's the hell's this bush got a light for, Dazzler?
I don't know, but it looks a bit like a Christmas light. It's been annoying me as well. I keep thinking, should I turn around and switch that off? But I don't really know.
That's the twinkle in his eye, Trottie. That's not the bush.
I thought
it's the same as Bubs' teeth, isn't it? When his lips go, the lights go.
I thought it was his new microphone. I'm like, he keeps going on at me about some new microphone. I'm like, does this microphone light up like that? I got enough problems. Never mind freaking the new microphone with lights in it.
We know what you were like with tech, so no. But yeah, a few things unpacked definitely. One, the audience is definitely changing. But to your point, Bubs, I don't think we should ever use video to assess whether there's been an infringement on the golf course, to be honest, because too many players, too difficult an angle to get it exactly right for every tiny detail. I think the decision that happens on the field of play is the decision that you go with to the end. That would be my view, because then I think it's fair for everybody. And, you know, if there's an infringement accidentally, there's an infringement accidentally. But we all know that if somebody cheats in the game of golf, that stigma stays with that person for their career. So I don't believe that anybody is intentionally cheating, personally. But I do think it's possible that infringements will occur where it would be a breach of the rule, not necessarily cheating. So I just think that whatever happens on the field of play stays on the field of play. Anything that happens with a video camera afterwards is null and void. It's just it's a tournament incident in the same way when you watch Formula One, there's a racing incident. It's just how it is. And I do think that will help from that situation you mentioned about a Sunday. And if it was the final round, well, that situation would never have occurred. You wouldn't get Rory's comments slating DeChambeau for keeping everybody at the golf course all night. You wouldn't get that. All of those challenges would just disappear.
So quite a nasty subject then, and a quick one. What's the worst thing you've seen in sport from a cheat point of view? Any sport. You can do golf and then any sport, or you can just do any sport.
Well, I wouldn't say it would be a cheating thing from my side, but it was me caddying for you. But no, not you cheat. I'm talking about you knew the rule, and the other guy that intentionally got his playing partners disqualified, and he intentionally got you disqualified.
Yeah,
because I would say that's cheating. If your intention is to get other people out of your way, that's cheating.
Do you think it's a good question? You might have to retell the story here. So I don't. Do you think that's cheating? Did he intentionally know? I guess he did. So
why would he not address it with you? I think you should tell the story.
Yeah, quickly tell the story. So I was going to go and we'll placeholder it and come back. 3 worst things I can think of: the Maradona handball, hand of God. And he's admitted that was handball. And there was another one that jumped up that was like
Luis Suarez's handball in the semi-final. I think it was, or a quarter-final.
No, there's another really famous one, like the cricket tampering of the ball. That's always, but there's another one that literally, cycling and the drugs in the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So you go beyond that, and it's like you could, and I hate to say it because I like him, but you could bring up little incidences like Simon Dyson and the pressing of the spike mark down with the golf ball, but that's not on the stage which then goes back to Bubsy's point, the Maradona handball, which impacted the World Cup outcome, and the Tour de France. I mean, Tour de France it's not like there's 4 majors, that's it. So if you're taking drugs, enhancing your, even whatever they are, that's terrible. But back to this rule anyway. So we're playing this years ago, Midland PGA event, and I was a decent player in the region at the time. We're on the 11th, and it meanders through this like valley, weird golf hole. You hit an iron off the tee, or I'd chosen to hit iron off the tee, and then you hit an iron into the green. I missed the green back right on, not fringe, on like some secondary fringe, I guess. And I am about 10 yards from the flag, so it's, you putt it really, because it's fringe and secondary fringe. Anyway, there's a GUR in the way, because it's only Midland region. It's not like big deal. So this GUR is a drainage, and it's sort of pebbles where they fill it around the drainage, so you can't putt through it. So I'm like, okay, blah, 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 free drop, cool. So I take the drop and I move perpendicular, no close to the hole, to the right, actually further away from the hole. And I said to the playing partner, I wasn't 100% sure on the rules. I said, can I drop here? He said yes. I drop, it lands on the fringe and rolls onto the green. And I'm like, okay, cool, drop, blah, blah. So good, everyone good. Playing with a guy 10 years older than us. He's like, yeah, good. Kid doesn't say anything. Game goes on, sign my scorecard, start the next round, 3 holes in, tap on the shoulder by the rules official. We've had a complaint about a ruling that happened in the previous round, and you signed your scorecard. Did you drop it and then putt from the putting surface, but you dropped it and it went onto the putting surface, so then you improved the surface? And I said, I did actually, yeah. And he goes, yeah, you're done. Turns out 2 holes earlier, the older fella, again, he wasn't that old, 10 years older than that, had signed his scorecard for, say, a 73 or something. He wasn't even in the tournament. He shot like 73. And the way I felt bad for this guy is he was working a lot, and he'd come out for like 1 game. I'd never seen him before, got paired with him. Signs for 73, really nice fella, like tried his hardest, flipping up and down and everywhere, typical like club pro guy. And there's something happened on 18, or he wrote one of the scores wrong. And the guy waited for him to sign the card, and as he put his signature on it, the guy says, you didn't shoot that. He just signed it in front of him. And he wasn't even in play to like win the tournament. And he said, you what? So he goes, no, you had a 5 there, not a flipping 6 or something, or a 5, not a 4. Therefore, regardless, he was 1 shot. He'd signed for 1 shot better, DQ'd. So as we went out again, and I get DQ'd, I turn around and say to this rules official before like it's done and dusted, I said, so what's this guy going to do? And he's like, well, he's going to play on his own now. And I was like, have you ever thought there might be, this is a bit weird. Like, well, what's going on? Pat, I think they gave him a bollocking afterwards. I think they had a chat with him and like, this isn't how you do stuff. Like, the intent is not to get the people you're playing golf with disqualified. If you know the rules and you can assist and they ask you for your advice, you should really advise them. Anyway, the fiasco that went down, which is why we always say, didn't you? And you knew the rules. This guy was a big guy and skinny but big. And I was on a par 3, and they were deciding what they were going to do as the rules officials, because obviously now they've got this guy in the tournament that's 3 balls and he's going to end up playing his own. So they think, they're like, well, do we ask Trottie to continue and just be a marker, or how's that going to go? And I think they were like, no, we've got to give him the choice to walk off the golf course. So they said, look, do you want to continue? And I was like, no, if I'm DQ'd, like, make a decision on it. So they come back out and they're like, look, you DQ'd, sorry, mate, is what it is. I was like, all right. I said, whatever. I was going to 2-putt that thing anyway. 2-putted it. We moved on, but whatever. So I'm standing over this ball. In the meantime, we've got a par 3 to play whilst we're thinking about it. It's only a short one downhill, like wedge or 9-iron. It was in between clubs for me. And Dazzler was caddying, and Dazzler was stood between me and the player. And I backed off the shot and turned around and looked at him, and I went, you knew the rule? And the kid's like mumbled a bit quiet. And Daryl's gone, Trottie. And he's moved 1 step to his left to get in the way of me and the kid. 2 of the smallest people on property to get in the way of me and the kid. And I've gone, you knew the rule? I said, I'm talking to you. You knew the rule, didn't you? And it's gone quiet. And I went, didn't you? Because I was up to like do well in the order of merit and get into Wentworth to the tournament and stuff. And I went, you've absolutely fucked me here. I said, Dazzler, give me the wedge. I'm going to hit it hard, landed near the pin, spun off the front. I didn't hit another shot. And I just went down there going, you're just a fucking arse. Like, I said, getting me DQ'd is one thing. I said, what do you do to the lad that was like just out here for a game? Like, that's stupid. Like, what are you doing? And he just wouldn't speak at all. It was hilarious.
The funny thing was for me, though, which I always remember really vividly, is when Trottie does say, you knew the rule, didn't you? And this big, like he says, big guy, skinny guy, realizes I might get knocked out here. So he then steps behind his own caddy,
who was also a little guy.
Yeah. The two little Rottweilers are going to take him down on the 11th tee or whatever.
He's got to have some balls there, because he's got to know that at some point during that event you're going to get told, and he's going to be probably within 50 yards of you at some point. It's not as if it's going to happen and he's not around, he's never going to see you again. I mean, this is Midland region. If you play 15 events, you're going to see him every event. I mean, he's got to have some balls.
That's why I think it's cheating, though, because he was strategic. In my opinion, he was strategically holding back information and using information to get an advantage over his playing partners, which is cheating to me. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's put his ball in the tee in the rough or whatever cheating maneuvers people choose to do out there. To me, this was to try and get a competitive advantage. So he cheated.
100%.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? It's brutal.
Yeah. So, I'd rank this right up there with the hand of God from Maradona. You knew the rule, didn't you?
What you just said then about the sort of rules and golf, and you mentioned Simon Dyson. I actually don't know that rule, so he might have to just, or that instance, he might have to just recover that. But that's a nice little segue into, and I don't know if I have an opinion on this really, because I don't play on the tour, but did you see Lucas Glover over the weekend?
I did see that. What was that all about?
So he basically hold a putt 15 feet, let's say. He's obviously got the long putter. So he's hold the putt. He's then turned around, walked off the green, taken his shoes off, and then gone to get the ball out of the hole in a protest to say that, almost along the lines of, look, I'm going to make sure that I don't create any imperfections, spike marks around the hole. And it was a bit of a dig at those who do aim point, who stand around the hole to see what the slope is. Now, I say I don't have an opinion on it. I have got an opinion on it. I mean, to have an opinion on to whether he's correct or not, I guess you've got to be on the greens playing those events to see whether they are doing damage. I can't sit here and say they're not, marking up the greens, or they are marking up the greens, because I'm 3,000 miles away watching it on TV. I've got no idea. What I would say is that when you get a player like Lucas Glover, who's been around for a long time, he's a major champion, if he's saying that they are making marks around the greens, you can't kind of believe him. He's not doing this for clout. He's not trying to get clicks on Instagram like we are, is he? He's trying to make money and win more majors. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see whether anyone. I mean, I saw on socials there's a few people tweeting and sort of coming out in support. So there's maybe something there that's going to kind of rumble on for a little bit, and there's people going to come out and say a few more things on it. But I don't think aim point is particularly slow. I think that's a stick that people use to beat it with, but I don't think it's that slow. I think it's a pretty fast process to do it right. But if they are, scuffing up the greens, then that's probably a bit more of an issue.
How much of an impact does aim point have versus like the long putter? I don't know if aim point is. I think it's quite hard to do. And I just think, I don't know, to calibrate before and get it right. And I think the calculating the slope is not too difficult, but getting the speed exactly right and then trusting it and then know it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm still jury's out as to how much that actually helped.
Mm. And I do think that the players that are using aim point are, like you said, Bubs, if they use it correctly. But I think that there's others that maybe just take it to the extreme, and therefore that does slow down play. But I do think that if you do it correctly and you do it in the right way, then in theory it shouldn't really be time inhibiting. But then you look at those videos, and we've all freaking seen them, the videos of Patrick Cantlay being timed against Ryan Fox hitting a shot. That's quite a big difference over a course of a whole round as well. So I think just to label it as pace of play on the greens in isolation would be quite unfair to the 5-6 hour rounds that we're almost getting accustomed to seeing in the professional game. I think it's a collective time saving that needs to happen across all shots.
And now, because, hang on, Bubsy, because we're all now on player cam, because we've been told that we're, clowns publicly on comments, and then we've had private messages where we're a bunch of arseholes. I just want to say, I do like aim point. I just think you do need to master it. That's all. So I can appreciate the comments that I've just said there could be sliced up and taken out of context. You got to master it. It's the same as the long putter. I love the long putter. Love it. But you got to master it. Like, you use it. If you go out there and look a dick and use one of those things and see how you get on. Because I easily lose 2 strokes of freaking round with that thing. No worries.
Well, I think I think whilst we're going on the record, I also need to go on the record and say I don't want murderers let out. Like, I want them locked up. But I think
that's it for the podcast this week. Well done, lads.
I think it does open a wider conversation, because I don't think, the time thing gets spoken about, but I think his process was about marking up the greens around the holes. So, I mean, look, when I grew up as a kid, I started the game when I was like 13, 14. I was at a club. It was a nice club. I pretty quickly got used to the rules. And it was very much like on the tee or hitting a shot, you don't stand directly behind the player. It's not really, you're not breaking the rules if you do that. It's etiquette. You're not really meant to step on the player's line. You're meant to step over it. So that was always the etiquette of the game, and that was always the kind of right thing to do. I don't think if you walked across someone's line, it was an infringement of the rules, but it was frowned upon. So is it getting to the point where these players do an aim point? If they are standing around the hole and they are making little scuff marks, if there's players who've got a putt, are they right to stand up and say, look, this isn't right? You know, the rules of the game, the etiquette is you play your own ball, but you're respectful of the other people in your group who are playing and the other people on the course who are trying to win this event as well. So is there something that needs to be put in place maybe that says, look, you know, you can do your aim point, but you've got to be a bit wary of what you're doing around the hole?
I just think golf's in a really difficult place. I think it's transitioning big time into something different. I think aim point is something you've got. And I think where we practice, you know, golf course where I spend a lot of time at, it's like basically where the Trot Shop is. It's got a wide range of members. Like, it's got some good players, and then there was some kid going around the other day, 25 to 30-year-old bloke, 2 sets of clubs on the back, no passenger, drinks everywhere, like electric dance music going loud, not like just playing it in the background. And I'm looking at him going, seen that freaking Cream 1999 this in Liverpool, like, what are we doing? And he bumbles himself across the bridge, thinks he's the man, and off he goes and has his game. And I'm just like, what a dick. But it's
maybe like he's one of those murderers that have been let out.
But that's the game. And then the next scene, I look across and there's a kid practicing and another kid, and they're out with the fingers on the green doing aim point and shit. And I'm like, it's just cool. It's where it's going, I guess. It's a wide range.
I have got the answer to spike marks on the greens. TGL.
I told you.
No spike marks there.
That'll be a whole bunch of new comments coming to Instagram next week or later this week.
They've just got to fit it around the Open.
I do want to address some of those comments saying, this little podcast. You know, we are in the top 10 of podcasts in terms of audience size in the world. That's nothing to be sniffed at. We've had over 6.5 million listens and views in the last 12 months. I mean, actually, you know, for this little podcast, we seem to be doing just fine, I would say. So put those haters back in their box, clip that up, send it out, job done.
Absolutely.
Don't let out those killers from prison.
That's it. So did you boys watch any golf? Specifically the 3M Open?
3M, yeah. I thought that Jackson Coyven, I do want to talk about this. You know, this kid has only played 3 professional tournaments and he goes out and wins.
Ridiculous.
I mean, it's daft, isn't it? Like, are these kids coming out of college, are they just tour ready? They can just win at any moment? Because it looks that way. You know, you have to look at the last few years of how quick some of these players have migrated from that amateur game into the professional game, into the top 50 of the world rankings. They've done it really, really, really quickly. So I'm quite interested to hear your take as to how this happens, because yesteryear, when we were kind of, in our early 20s, the standard format was it took you a few years to kind of learn your craft out on tour, and then you kind of got your wins under your belt. Whereas now I'll just pitch up, I'm playing to win, and I'm going to win. And that's how they seem to go. What's your take on that, Bubs, from a coaching perspective and a tuition side of things? Are these guys that ready technically?
I mean, you've got to say yeah, because he's just done it. My understanding of the ins and outs and what actually happens of kind of college golf in the US and the amateur scene out there is not probably as good as it could be, or probably as good as Trottie, obviously living out there. But I do feel that if a player stayed, let's say, in Europe or UK, it would be a more difficult transition. They tend to, in the county setups, tend to play a lot of match play, a lot of 4-ball, a lot of stuff like that. Probably doesn't prepare you well enough for tour golf. I think it was, it might have been Piers who said that, or I saw it somewhere else, that Aaron Rye didn't do the kind of England golf route because he felt like it wasn't going to prepare him the way he wanted to be prepared for tour golf. Probably different in the US. I think they play a lot more high profile events They play under a lot more pressure. They play a lot more stroke play events. And ultimately, could a player, come out of college and hit it well enough to win on tour? You can absolutely see that. They can absolutely grind. They've got all the launch monitors. They've got all the data. They can absolutely fine tune their technique probably quicker than they could 30 years ago. So then the question goes to, can they get mentally ready? And you look at the college sports in the US, it's massive. So, there'll be people out there who flick on the golf and never seen this kid and wonder how's he rocked up at this event in his third start and won. But he's been playing big events for years. He's been playing under huge amounts of pressure for years. He's been learning how to win for years. He's been learning how to get it done down the stretch for years. It's just another tour. It's another event. And if you can, sort of think of it that way and get your head around it that way, to him, it's not a massive step, but it looks like a big step because we're talking about this kid was amateur, now pro, and it's his third start and he's won. So I do think we're entering a phase now or an era where they are going to be ready to win. They are being prepared better than they have done before. But I do think it's probably more the US guys who are prepared better than the European guys.
Mm. They just played Cypress Point, didn't they, in the Walker Cup? I think you have to understand, if you make it into the Walker Cup, you're one of the best players in the world back. And then if you make it in the Walker Cup from the American side, the talent pool is way deeper. Because I know that's heavily American history of winning, isn't it, the Walker Cup? Yeah, and I think that in itself shows you how deep that level of talent is. And then you comment on college sports. I don't think college soccer is quite at the level that you can play that and then dive. I think they need to improve that so that it gets to being championship level or Division 1 soccer in the UK, football. But I mean, if you play baseball in college or American football in college, I think you can pretty much hang. If you're the best player there, you'll be pulled out into the big leagues before you get graduated because it takes 4 years to graduate. So I think, I've seen it with that kid at Tennessee now. I'll think of his name in a minute. Really nice fella. That just ends up, it's not Tennessee, it's the Patriots. The kid at Patriots that ends up you boys ain't going to get it, I'll get it. There's the quarterback who ends up going straight out of college into playing pro leagues. And it's the same, I think, in the baseball, don't know a name, but I think, and the golf. And then it's just some of the other sports that don't quite have that level, but it's culturally massive here. And if you're playing Walker Cup and playing like that kid did, then unreal. But I mean, the thing that's perhaps more interesting is the golf swing and the side bend. I like that. That keeps the face passive. But that chicken wing you wouldn't teach that, would you? I mean, it's a lot.
That's probably where, look,
hang on. Drake May. I haven't even gone to Google. Drake May. I knew it would come. Carry on.
You never know the alternative route, but if he comes through as a junior golfer, let's say 20 years ago, you maybe never, ever see this kid on tour. Because 20 years ago, video cameras were probably just occurring on the lesson tee, but there was no launch monitors. A pro might get hold of him and change his golf swing, and then you never see him again. But I think with the introduction of launch monitor technology, the right stuff, we're analysing golf swings better, and you're changing it based on performance. And so he's probably largely been left alone in terms of his technique. But what's interesting with him, if you look at his golf swing, it does look quite unique. He's got a huge amount of side bend, which basically he's a right-handed golfer, so his right shoulder gets incredibly close to the ground through impact. He gets a lot of tilt through his shoulders. But what's quite unique about him is that if you look at the golfers who have huge amounts of side bend, they usually have that. I saw a great post from who's the guy? Oh, what's his name's gone. I'll come back to you.
Drake May.
Yeah, Drake May. He was saying that you look at the golfers with huge amounts of side bend, and there's a few of them. They generally have a huge amount of hip rotation as well, whereas his hips almost stall a little bit like Rory's, but a little bit more extreme. So his hips stall, and he's got a lot of side bend. So it's quite a unique move when you look at it that way. I know there's going to be people out there who are way more qualified to speak on this than me, but it sparks conversations about how long will his career last? Is he going to suffer for injury? And I don't think anyone can answer that because everyone's body types is different. Everyone's subjected to different amounts of force going through the body. He hits it a long way, so there's going to be a huge amount of force going through. Wouldn't surprise me if he's already started the journey of seeking out the right people to advise him on that and whether things need to change. But you look at someone like Will Zalatoris. It hasn't gone particularly well for him. Struggled with his back, tried to change his golf swing. He was a phenomenal talent at one point. Looked like he was going to win the Masters back in not that long ago, and suddenly we don't see him on the leaderboard at all. So I think he's got to play the next 5 years carefully clearly he's got huge amounts of talent, and his trajectory is one where he's going to go and contend for majors. But it's whether he wants to look at the next 10 and say, can I get it done in the next 10? Or whether he wants to sort of potentially look at what he can do to make that career more 30 to 40 years and see if he can sort of, as Trottie says, hang with the best of them. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does over the next few years, because it's he might have some big decisions to make.
So a couple of things there. One, I think that, you look at
David Wood.
Zalatiris comment, and that's the second time I've heard it. Yeah, it's his brother who was a cartoon figure. Anyway, basically, you look at it, and that's the second time I've heard that comparison in under 12 hours, and I've been asleep for 8 of them. So that basically, is going to be a real thing, and it makes me laugh how that's already brought up. But, your comment of, is he going to have a career for 30, 40 years? Don't you think that's done and gone? The amount of money that these guys play for, don't you think now it's a condensed time at the top of the game, make your money and go? I think that's more what you're going to start to see. Because you think about it, we can name Lucas Glover, long career, still on tour, Jason Day, Justin Rose. Then go ahead. Who else you got for me? Because that's Keimer's done, DJ's gone, lived it, done. Reed has had a long career now. Patrick Reed, he's still going.
Well, McIlroy's been out there a long time. Fitzpatrick's been out there a long time. Fleetwood has. There's probably quite a lot of names now.
I mean, you've just had the Senior Open, picking up the pensions, they're still playing.
Yeah, but I don't think that continues, because I think the money's so great that they're the guys who this is freaking controversial now. Apologies, no one DM me. They're the guys who don't want to go home, mate. They don't want to go home.
But I understand what you're saying.
Go home. You've done everything. Go home. They don't want to go home.
But surely you would go. Like, I get that 100% what you're saying. Like, the money in this day and age is crazy, and you can make a bunch of money in a few years if you're a good player. But when you're looking at someone like a Rory, and obviously a Tiger back in the day,
Rory and Tiger are excluded from this, mate, because they are legacy guys.
Okay, but we use them as an example. They work their ass off with millions in the
excluded.
Bank. Well,
it's relevant.
They're in my argument. They're excluded from yours. It's still in mine. They work their ass off. So you are going to get those people rising to the top, because the people who are there for the money aren't going to work as hard off the course. If the money's coming in, if they win one event and they're bagging over $1 million, where's the incentive to go and work hard if what's driving you is the money? So they're going to get overtaken, surely, by the guys, and there's loads of out there, who are driven by legacy, driven by passing Rory, driven by passing Trevino. Those are the guys who are going to rise to the top. And if you're out there trying to make a buck in 5 years, you're going to get overtaken, surely.
But in this day and age, the guys that are going to pass Trevino and do those type of things is only Rory, Tiger's done it, and Brooks. Who else is in that conversation?
Yeah, but there'll always be another generation that comes.
Who did he say?
Jason Coyven just won. Oh, was it Jackson?
Jackson. Close.
Nah. That's it. They're the 3 guys currently.
Well, I'm just thinking about like the years of, think 5 years from now. Who's to say that the new competitive environment, the new rivalries aren't Ludwig Oberg, Alex Fitzpatrick, and Jackson Coyven? It could be those 3 guys that lead the way. I mean, you don't know. You don't know at this stage. All 3 are doing really well. So, but I also think that if you're getting to this level, you love this game. You love it. I can't see you going in and out.
The people we're talking about here, though, we could name them on 2 hands that have been like the absolute top, all-time, all-stars. You've got it on 2 hands. And in the modern day game, the one we've left out is Jordan Spieth. After that, and Scotty. Then that's it. You're done on modern day there.
It's like you, Trottie. You've made millions. You're still here doing this podcast. You're not checking out now, are you? It's like you do it for the love of the podcast. You don't do it for making a buck. Like the big players.
I don't want to go home. I'm a Champions Tour player. I don't want to go home.
Is that why you're in the garden?
You should see the shithole I'm living in right now. Don't want to go home. That's my problem. I love the game too much.
I think you're going to get. There's a golfer who was. I mean, you'll know who it was. Don't say it because I'm not going to reveal him on here. But there's a golfer who was on European Tour back in the day who was relatively local to me. Used to see him out and about a little bit.
I've already got it.
Friendly with him, and I remember him saying to me, because he was sort of, people said he was talented and that. I remember him saying to me, like, why would I work harder than I work now? He's like, I've got a load of cash, I drive a nice car, I've got a house in Dubai. He's like, why would I work harder to try and win a few more events? There's going to be players like that. You're always going to get those. And you can't stop that. And it's like, no shade on them. That's how they want to play it. But you're always going to get those. But then you will get the players who aren't driven by money, who want to rack up the wins, who want to get onto Ryder Cup teams, they want to have the records, they want to be seen as the best, and that's what's going to drive them to practice more. And I think you'll just see them rising to the top. And you will get the odd person who jumps on the circuit for 5 years, makes a load of cash and then disappears, but they're not the ones that we're going to be talking about on podcasts.
I just think it's really hard to win a major over the age of 40.
Yeah, I've given up. I'm not going to try anymore.
But there's too much, isn't there, in life? There's too many things, too many commitments, too many sponsors' commitments, too many children, too many wives, too many cars, too much money. It's too difficult.
Yeah, and you're probably right that also, as Daz has said, you've also got to contend with the under 25s can beat you. Whereas 15 years ago, it probably wasn't the case. You probably had a smaller pool of players who you were playing against. But now the kids just out of college can probably go and win a tournament. It probably is harder.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's actually not that different at all from each generation to the next. Seve Ballesteros came on at a really young age. Jack Nicklaus came on the scene at a really young age. I don't think any of that's new. It's like everyone assumes that to be an entrepreneur or a business person, you got to be, 28 driving a Ferrari. I mean, the average business owner doesn't start a company until they're 44 years old. That's the reality. The average CEO is 52, I think it is. So when you really put it into perspective, I just don't think anything is actually changing. It's just different players. Yes, there's different commitments. Yes, there's more money. Yes. But actually, the process and the churn of golfers coming through, it's the same. 10 years from now, there's going to be a new kid who's 20, 21 bursting through the ranks, and he will then become the next big name. I think it's just natural. I think it's the way it should be. And I don't think anything's different.
I do think this kid is special. I might be wrong here, but am I right in thinking that Ludwig hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet?
No, he hasn't.
I don't think he has. He's won on the European Tour, but he hasn't won on DP.
He's been talked about for years as this incredible talent, young, and like this kid's come out, 3 stars
and won already.
I was like, that's super impressive. That's not just a great golfer. That's a mentally strong player who isn't fazed by being. And he shot like 66 on the last day, holding off the world number one. I mean, super impressive.
The only thing I'll say about that, though, is that, I had somebody messaging me this morning saying, geez, Scotty can't win anymore. And I'm like, hang on a second here. If we just go through, since the US Open, he finished tied 4th there. He finished 2nd at the Travelers Championship, granted missed the cut at the Scottish Open, then finished tied 4th at the Open Championship, and then finished runner-up at the 3M Open. The reality is those are all probably tournament-winning performances, but somebody else has just played better. And that can happen in any given time, right? In any given situation, in any circumstance. So I do think the fact that Oberg hasn't won doesn't necessarily mean that he's not a gifted top 10 player in the world, possible future major winner, all of these things that get hyped about him. I don't think that means that. But you do have to put yourself in winning positions a lot, which is what Scheffler does a lot. And I think Oberg will have to develop that craft more and more and more so that he can convert some of those top 5s into wins.
Agreed.
Fair point?
Yeah, I think. No, look. I think Ludwig will go on to win. There's no doubt about that. But I just think when you look at this kid coming out, you're just like, wow, that is impressive.
I think the thing that I find impressive actually is that he said in his post-round interview that he could hear the whispers of the crowd as he was walking around. And he said he could hear the fans saying, Scheffler's coming, Scheffler's closing in. And then he ended up making like his 5th birdie of the day and put his foot down and ended up, pulling away. And I think that says a lot more about his character as a winner, a winning mentality and a winning mindset, that he is able to go, well, I can hear what they're saying, but it's totally irrelevant because this is the game of golf that I'm playing. And it's up to Scheffler to catch up, and I think that's a good approach. And what we haven't seen from Oberg, we haven't seen him in that kind of contention where he's been able to do that yet. And I think we'll be able to tell a lot more about his winning mentality and character when that situation arises, which it will. And let's see if he can close those events out, which is why I think of the Scheffler thing. I mean, the guy's contending week in, week out. That's the whole point of being successful, is you're in contention all the time, knowing that you're going to win some, knowing that you're going to lose some, but you've got to put yourself in a winning position week in, week out. And that's what I think Scheffler's doing better than anyone else.
I think in any sport, whoever you look at, if you're looking at performance, there's peaks and troughs. I mean, just look at like a Jordan Spieth, massive peaks, wins majors. He's in a bit of a trough now, struggling to get back. Brooks wins majors, in a trough. Everyone goes through it. If this is Scheffler's trough, his peaks, he's winning, and his trough, he's finishing 4th or 5th, that's pretty scary for the rest of the golfing world. If his level is such as the fact that when he's not on his game, he's finishing top 5s in pretty much everything he plays in, like that would be for me a massive positive to look at his career and say, this is a guy who's going to be around for a long, long time. And when he just finds that little bit that's missing, he's winning everything he plays in again.
The problem we have, though, is, and this applies to all sports, it's ultimately about the trophies you win.
Yeah.
Right? Being in tension's great. You have to learn how to close. You have to learn how to win. I look at Liverpool Football Club as a Liverpool fan. Liverpool are the only team in the top flight of England to have played in every game you can play in a season. Every single one of them they've played. So they've played all 38 games in the league, standard for all of the teams in the league. They've got to the final of the FA Cup. They got to the final of the EFL Cup. They also got to the final of the Champions League, all in the same season. That would have been an unprecedented season had they won all 4 tournaments. Turns out they only ended up winning the EFL trophy and the FA Cup. So they didn't get that little accolade for the league. They didn't get the accolade for the Champions League. So they don't get remembered as arguably the greatest team of English top flight history. They get remembered for the trophies. And that's what's the defining difference. So you could have Oberg in the top 10. I mean, this is a hypothetical situation, but if he was in the top 10 for the next 15 years of his career, never won a tournament, you could actually do that. Like, that's actually statistically completely feasible. But when he retires, he will never be remembered. It's all about the trophies. And that's the reality of professional sports.
But now you could finish top 15 for 5 years and then walk away with a nice career. That's Smiley Coffin.
But is that? But I think that this is what I'm trying to say. You said that you can only reel off a handful of people. You're right, but the next generation is going to be a handful of people. The generation after that's going to be a handful. There's always going to be those people that'll do this job for nothing. They'll just want to play for the trophies.
But you could finish top 5 in every event you play in for the next 10 years, and some could argue that you have been the best player in the world for those 5 years.
Well, you could say that about Greg Norman.
Depends how you measure it. If you define how you measure it, it's different. Yeah, I would agree it's got to be wins. But I guess if you were to do it on average performance, maybe shots or score, he could potentially, you could say, he's the best player in the world. But I don't think anyone would see that.
Well, if you relate this back to football just for a moment, or soccer for our American listeners, Maradona, Pele, Messi, Ronaldo, considered the best players of all time in that space. Well, guys like George Best, he was never going to win a European Championship, a World Cup, just never going to happen. So how do you know that he's not the best player in the world? Because he didn't win one of the big tournaments. That's going to be exactly the same thing in this situation. Greg Norman, for his generation, his time, through the sort of late 80s, 90s, that period of time where he was world number 1 for a record stretch, he was the greatest golfer of his generation. But was he? Because he didn't win many majors comparatively to how much he contended. He won 2 majors in his career, I think it was. When you look at guys like Faldo, same era, closing out 6. So it's all about the majors. It'll always be about how many wins you get in the end. That's what you'll be judged upon. People still talk about Byron Nelson now because he won, how many events was he 11 events in a row, I think he won? It was a big number in a row. Like, that still gets talked about today. Ridiculous. So it has to be about wins. There's nothing else to really comment on. Djokovic, Federer, Nadal. It's all about how many majors they've won. Serena Williams, how many majors she's won. Like, this is the way that all sports works. You look at Formula One and Hamilton, how many titles, Schumacher, how many podiums, how many trophies have they won? That's what matters in the end. I'm going on my high horse ship. That's what it's always about. What else could it possibly be about? So when I think about these players in the next generation that come through, if it is, hypothetically, Jackson Coyven, Alex Fitzpatrick, and, Oberg, maybe they are this next generation of major winners, I think they would do it for a fraction of the money because they want to win the trophies. because that's what legacy's built on. You can make your money just built off your legacy in the end of your career.
How
Millions
old
have
is
done
Alex
it before.
Fitzpatrick?
I don't know. Let's find out, shall we?
I don't feel like that's a name that is in this conversation.
Well, he might not be. I'm using it as a hypothetical situation because I know that he's quite young and he's obviously broken through the ranks quite nicely on the PGA Tour. But he was born on the 2nd of January, 1999. So what does that make him? 26.
Mm-hmm. So he's still young.
Yeah. I mean, his trajectory in the last 12 months, if he doesn't slow down, then he will be in this conversation.
Yeah.
Does Alex Fitzpatrick become the player he is without his brother?
Well,
no.
I'm going to say no because his brother was clearly a better golfer than him growing up, and he needed that better golfer around him to bring his own game forward. So you could say that about many situations. Would the Molinari brothers be as good as they ended up being without each other? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know. Have you ever read that book, Black Box Thinking by Matthew Said?
No.
No. All right. Well, very quick snapshot on this guy. Very quick snapshot on that is that Matthew Said was a British table tennis player who played for England. I've
seen this.
I know, but the point is that all of the top British table tennis players.
Yeah, I've seen this book.
It's
all not called
living,
that, is it?
It is, yeah. Okay, it's not then. It's not then.
Because I actually think I've read it.
Well, he's written a few books. One of them is Black Box Thinking. All right, does that settle you down a little bit now? Put you back.
Would Dazzler
but what I'm trying to say,
hang on, without me and you, Bubs?
Probably not.
The table tennis story.
All of the top British table tennis players all grew up within something like 3 streets of each other in the Midlands. And they were all concentrated in the same location. And there's circumstances, which is what he describes in his book, that helped elevate that. So, for example, the coach that they all had was an ex-Chinese national team coach who'd moved over here to the UK. They also had keys to the whatever it would be called, wherever their table tennis courts were. They had keys to get in at all hours of the day. So they'd go in there at midnight and play table tennis against each other. His brother, as in Matthew Said's brother, was also a table tennis pro, and they egged each other on the whole time. So I think the circumstances all have a positive effect on that player. So Alex Fitzpatrick is a better player because of his brother, because the circumstances were better. His brother was obviously a better player winning big events. There's a really good chance that Alex Fitzpatrick would have had more access to guys like Pete Cowan and sports psychologists and learning about physiology and all of these variables that he would not have otherwise had he not had a brother that was also gifted at the game of golf. So I would say a flat no, he would not be as good as he is now.
But even just, rocking up to a PGA Tour event for the first time, not knowing where to stay, not knowing where the check-in is, not knowing any of that kind of stuff, he's taken away if his brother's there. So even just at his events for the first 2 or 3, he's going to feel a lot more relaxed than maybe someone who's hasn't got an older brother, because he's been kind of chaperoned around a bit by Matt, and he's kind of put at ease a little bit more, and he can focus a bit more on actually golfing his ball rather than where do I stay and where do I check in and what do I do when I'm finished and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it plays a big role. Like, he might have got there, but it definitely wouldn't have been at the same rate.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right,
anyway,
I've got a quick question before we go, which is probably unfair because I've already asked Dazza off camera and he didn't know much about it, but I'm going to throw it out to you. There was an announcement that the Asian Tour have extended their deal with the DP World Tour, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth to Live. So I know you don't know much, Dazzler, but in a nutshell, what does that mean for DP?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they extended their partnership. It's a new deal is what it is. And that'll then form part of that PGA Tour ecosystem connected to the DP World Tour. So I would argue that it strengthens the DP World Tour. So that's a positive step in the right direction. Overall, without digging too deep into it, I think it's a positive. We're going to see some big events back in Asia with probably some pretty good prize money to boot. It's definitely a kick in the teeth to Live Golf, but Live, there's obviously been some rumors that they're going to cancel the team championship. There's going to be all sorts of problems occurring over the next 6 months, I would say. And it's a matter of time before a lot of these players are now looking or waiting for a breach to happen in their agreements with Live in order to then migrate back to the DP World or PGA Tour. I do think that the pathway back to the PGA Tour, it kind of softens that blow. So imagine you're a Live Golf player now, you unhappy with what's happening at Live, you then jump ship, you then have the ability to go and play DP World events, which now also has the Asian Tour schedule as part of that, or certainly the co-sanctioned element of that. So now you're still playing for pretty good prize money on a global scale. Off you go. So I think from a player perspective, it softens the blow for those players migrating back out of Liv. But I think it definitely signals the end for Liv, is what I would say on that point. Yeah, I can't see how Liv are going to come back from here.
Trottie's just pulled his dog in. What's your dog called? I don't know what your dog called.
He's called, what's that kid's name? Jackson. He's got a bit of side bend on him. He's not. He's called Denny. Denver. Anyways, basically, boys, I feel like it's been a little bit of a reset episode for me, this one.
You've definitely not seen yourself on this episode, I'll say. I think you're tempering your opinions. So basically what's happened is that public opinion has swayed what you then say publicly. I think you need to really think about this, Troy, because...
well, it's that and the situation, just obviously the fact that I'm sat outside and don't really want to make a lot of noise because there's neighbours sleeping. But yeah, I think, I think to me it makes a bland podcast. The shit.
You've been very vanilla on this podcast.
Because that's what the world wants, apparently.
The people in the Ivory Coast want controversy. So
exactly. Why do you think we're the number one podcast in the Ivory Coast? Because of those opinions of yours, Troy.
Exactly.
So
if you want a free holiday in the Ivory Coast, then back to controversial Trottie.
Exactly. And I actually do know the answer about how many golf courses there are on the Ivory Coast, and there's 3.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay, one each.
Yeah, one each. Exactly. Maybe they should call them after this. Like one, Bubbles Golf Club, the other one, Trot Shop, GC, and the other one, Icon to Millions. That sounds about right to me.
Dazzler Links. I like that.
Dazzler Links, yeah. Dazzler 3 putts GC. It's more likely to be that one. Right, boys. I think that wraps it up for another week. So for those that are listening, check us out in all the usual places. Our Instagram seems to be a really hot buzz feed of commentary specifically directed at Trottie. So feel free to chime in, get your opinions out there. Trottie will batter them back firmly. Expect that because he's decided to go anti-vanilla. Other than that, we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Dope Stroke Podcast Show, the number one podcast in the Ivory Coast. Tune in next time.